Gaza stands at a pivotal moment in its history. A ceasefire is under discussion, hostages are expected to return home, and a single border crossing could determine whether this moment reshapes the future or fades into yet another temporary halt. Promises are compelling: quieter nights, expedited aid, families coming together. Yet, beneath this optimism lies a tangled web of conditions, synchronized timelines, and political pressures that could come undone in a heartbeat. On paper, the plan appears straightforward: return living hostages, recover the deceased's remains, and release Palestinian detainees in organized phases. Military actions will be reduced in specific areas to minimize harm to civilians, with careful withdrawals to reduce confusion and contact. Humanitarian routes will expand along pre-cleared paths, allowing essential supplies, food, fuel, medical aid, to flow at predictable intervals. Each verified step paves the way for the next, while each delay or violation could halt the entire process in its tracks. Then, the first surprise strikes. Initial announcements suggest the Rafah crossing may reopen, only for later updates to declare it closed indefinitely. The condition is clear: movement is contingent on recovering the remains of all deceased hostages. A humanitarian concession becomes leverage. Even if the gates are lifted, the process is complex: damaged terminals, contested control on the Gaza side, and inspection protocols must be both swift and transparent. Without reliable operations at Rafah, aid trickles, families remain in limbo, and a ceasefire feels more symbolic than impactful. From the beginning, allegations of wrongdoing mar the hope. Reports of deadly incidents during truce hours stoke grief and anger, increasing political tension when negotiators need calm to adhere to the schedule. In this phased deal, minor violations can have significant repercussions. A missed handover delays prisoner releases, a disputed inspection halts aid convoys, a single explosion skews public opinion overnight. Verification becomes the backbone of the process: swift, credible, and mutually accepted, or the entire sequence collapses. There exists a human ledger that no statement can simplify. Both sides of the border see families gathering in hospital corridors and at checkpoints, combing through lists, clutching photographs, bracing for news. Some will reunite with loved ones alive, others will receive remains, long awaited yet heartbreaking. This moral center, hostages and the respect owed to the deceased, drives decisions at the highest levels. It solidifies positions on border conditions. It also softens hearts just enough to allow convoys through. Additionally, every unexplained delay feels like a fracture in trust. International perception shifts along with the reality on the ground. A steady ceasefire, timely releases, fewer civilian casualties, provides Jerusalem with a chance to lessen diplomatic isolation and regain maneuvering space. However, renewed violence or visible box-outs at Rafah could swing the narrative back to condemnation, inquiries, and tougher questions from allies. For Gaza, the contrasts between gestures and genuine improvement lie in logistics: operational hours at checkpoints, daily throughput targets achieved, fuel deliveries that arrive reliably, and hospitals that can keep generators running through the night. The United States, sensing momentum, frames the ceasefire as evidence that long-standing conflicts can shift under pressure and deadlines. The upcoming challenge is whether this political capital carries over into European security talks and crisis management beyond the Middle East. Should the ceasefire endure and Rafah open credibly and consistently, anticipate a quieter diplomacy, fewer grandstanding moments, more behind-the-scenes work, fewer sweeping declarations, more incremental steps leading to tangible change on the ground. Nevertheless, tough questions linger at the core of any sustainable respite. Can Hamas consent to security measures limiting coercive power in an interim phase without formal disarmament? Can Israel accept guarantees, regarding hostages, border control, and monitoring, strong enough to warrant partial withdrawals and ongoing prisoner releases? Who will enforce red lines when disruptors test the boundaries? A pause can staunch the bleeding. Only credible authority and deterrence can prevent the wound from reopening. The mechanics are precise because errors carry heavy consequences. Hostage transfers must adhere to strict timelines and verified exchanges. Prisoner releases align with confirmable checkpoints and clear acknowledgements. Partial troop redeployments are timed to reduce civilian contact and avoid signaling chaos. Aid convoys navigate pre-cleared routes, supplemented by coordination units that deconflict movements and maintain communications when seconds are critical. When one link holds, the next can connect smoothly. However, the failure of one link could back everything up like trucks at a closed gate. Then, as evening approaches, another twist unfolds. A list of names circulates, only to be changed. One source hints at progress on remains, while another suggests lingering gaps. Families oscillate between hope and anxiety in an instant. At Rafah, drivers nervously check their watches. Medics perch on pallets, counting cold packs. Inspectors engage in discussions over a barcode, a stamp, a discrepancy in a file. A rumor spreads through the line: inspections have altered yet again. This illustrates how a ceasefire can seem nearly solid during the day and feel fragile by nightfall. What will shape the future from here is rhythm, not spectacle. Do the next scheduled releases occur on time without last-minute conditions? Do Rafah procedures become routine enough to fade from public consciousness? Do aid amounts increase daily until they meet genuine human needs? Do guarantors step in swiftly when challenges arise, investigating, attributing, and de-escalating before hope erodes? If those answers trend positively, the ceasefire can establish roots. Hostages return home. The deceased are honored. Convoys operate on set schedules. The daily landscape of Gaza starts to look less like a mishmash of restricted areas and more like a hopeful space where children go back to school, and clinics maintain normal hours. Plans for reconstruction shift from theories to reality. The political climate cools just enough for the next challenging dialogue. Conversely, if the answers trend negatively, the agreement becomes a ticking clock. Each overlooked milestone resonates loudly. Each accusation stiffens positions. Every stalled truck symbolizes a promise unfulfilled. Public patience wears thin. International backing diminishes. And the structure meant to prevent relapse begins to resemble the very situation it aimed to improve. Ultimately, Rafah tells the tale. Open gates, clear guidelines, and consistent throughput mark a ceasefire as more than just words on paper. Closed gates, shifting terms, and sporadic movement reveal that this moment may fade away. Between these extremes lies the often unseen work of implementation, technical, quiet, and absolutely crucial. Tonight, Gaza holds its breath. Families maintain their vigil. The border stands still, waiting. And the ceasefire remains, real, vulnerable, and defined not by speeches already delivered, but by the next few days of disciplined, verifiable actions.